The 1960s were a time of change, with music at the forefront. Artists pushed boundaries and challenged old ideas, but not everyone was ready for their bold messages. Some songs were banned for their controversial lyrics, political views, or risque content. In this video, we'll explore 17 banned songs from the 1960s that made waves, from anti-war anthems to love songs with hidden meanings, leaving a lasting mark on music history. Tell Laura I Love Her. Did you know the seemingly sweet ballad, Tell Laura I Love Her by Ray Peterson, caused major controversy in the 1960s? At first glance, it's a touching story about love and loss. The song follows Tommy, a young man who enters a car race to win money for an engagement ring for his girlfriend Laura. Tragically, Tommy dies in a fiery crash, leaving behind his final words, Tell Laura I Love Her. Despite its heartfelt message, many parents and radio stations deemed the song too morbid for young listeners. Critics feared it glamorized reckless behavior and would inspire dangerous copycat actions. Decca Records reportedly destroyed a large number of copies, citing concerns over the song's content. Meanwhile, the BBC initially banned a cover by Ricky Valance, citing concerns over its bad taste. Ironically, the controversy only fueled the song's popularity. Valance's version hit #1 on the UK singles chart for 3 weeks. Peterson's original succeeded after being re-released in 1962. The song became a symbol of teenage heartbreak and defiance, pushing boundaries in storytelling and pop music. While some saw it as tragic and emotional, others found it unsettling. Either way, Tell Laura I Love Her left a lasting impression, proving that even a tender ballad can shake the status quo. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? In November 1960, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow by the Shirelles made music history. Jerry Goffin and Carole King wrote the song. It is a heartfelt song that explores the emotions of a woman questioning the sincerity of her partner after an intimate moment. While it's now considered a classic, the song wasn't without controversy. Some radio stations banned the track, finding its lyrics too bold for the time. The song's premise, reflecting on the morning after an intimate encounter, was considered too risque for young audiences. Despite the backlash, its raw emotion and relatable themes struck a chord with listeners. The Shirelles' version of the song became the first #1 hit by an African-American girl group on the Billboard Hot 100, which had debuted only 2 years earlier. This milestone not only solidified the group's place in music history, but also broke barriers in a segregated industry. Initially, lead singer Shirley Owens wasn't sure about the song, feeling it sounded too country. But after a string arrangement was added, the group embraced it. The recording featured session musicians Paul Griffin on piano and Gary Chester on drums, adding depth to the track's soulful sound. Will You Still Love Me? Tomorrow sold over 1 million copies and became one of the most memorable songs of the era, despite facing bans. Its success showcased the power of music to connect with people's deepest feelings, even in the face of controversy. Brown-Eyed Girl. Van Morrison's Brown-Eyed Girl is now a classic, but it almost didn't make it to radio. Originally titled Brown-Skinned Girl, the song hinted at an interracial romance, a bold topic in the 1960s. Morrison changed the title to make it more radio-friendly, but the controversy didn't end there. The lyrics, celebrating young love and carefree summer days, included the line, "Making love in the green grass." For conservative broadcasters of the time, this was too suggestive. Many radio stations banned the song or insisted on a cleaner version, replacing the line with "Laughin' and a runnin', hey, hey." Despite the lyrical edits and initial resistance, Brown-Eyed Girl became one of Van Morrison's most iconic hits. Its catchy melody and nostalgic themes struck a chord with listeners, even if it pushed boundaries for its time. Morrison later shared that the song was inspired by a carefree summer romance. While the original title hinted at themes of interracial love, the changes softened its impact enough to ensure its success. Today, it's hard to imagine this upbeat anthem causing such a stir. But in the 1960s, its bold lyrics were considered daring. Over time, the controversy faded, leaving behind a timeless classic that's still played on radio stations around the world. Louie, Louie. The Kingsmen's 1963 hit, Louie Louie is a rock classic, but it stirred up an incredible amount of controversy due to its garbled lyrics. Originally written by Richard Berry in 1955, the song tells the simple story of a sailor yearning to reunite with his love in Jamaica. However, when the Kingsmen recorded their version, the mumbled delivery of singer Jack Ely sparked rumors of hidden obscene messages. These rumors caused such an uproar that the FBI launched a 31-month investigation to determine if the song violated laws against transporting obscene material. The investigation involved analyzing the lyrics at various speeds, but in the end, the FBI concluded the words were unintelligible at any speed. Adding fuel to the controversy, drummer Lynn Easton dropped a drumstick during the recording and muttered a faint expletive that can still be heard in the track. Oddly, this detail was overlooked in the lengthy FBI report. Despite, or perhaps because of, the uproar, Louie Louie climbed the charts, peaking at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. The backlash didn't stop with the investigation. The song faced bans on certain radio stations and was even prohibited in Indiana by the state's governor. Ironically, all the attention only made the track more popular, especially among teenagers who relished its rebellious reputation. Today, Louie Louie is a celebrated part of rock history, a reminder of a time when even a misunderstood song could cause a nationwide stir. Jackie. In 1967, BBC Radio 1 was launched as the British broadcaster's attempt to cater to the youth culture inspired by pirate radio. However, it quickly gained a reputation for banning songs it deemed too provocative. One of its first targets? Scott Walker's bold and experimental cover of Jacques Brel's La Chanson de Jackie, simply titled Jackie. Walker's rendition of the song featured very daring lyrics, which left BBC bosses uneasy. At the time, even subtle references to homosexuality or drug use were taboo in British broadcasting. These concerns led to the song being banned from the airwaves in 1968. This was just a year after England and Wales had begun decriminalizing private sexual acts between consenting adult men. Jackie was part of Walker's transition from pop stardom with the Walker Brothers to a solo career focused on artistic experimentation. Known for his haunting baritone and intricate compositions, Walker's work often blurred the line between pop music and avant-garde art. While his risk-taking alienated some listeners, it inspired a generation of artists who cited Walker as a key influence. Despite the initial ban, Jackie eventually gained recognition for its raw emotional depth and its unapologetic portrayal of human complexities. Decades later, artists like Mark Almond would revive the track, bringing it to a more accepting audience. Today, Jackie stands as a testament to Walker's boundary-pushing legacy and a reminder of how censorship shaped the music of its time. My Generation. My Generation by The Who, released in 1965, became a youth anthem. It captured the rebellious spirit of the younger generation with its iconic line, "Hope I die before I get old." However, the song's daring approach didn't sit well with everyone, especially the BBC. The controversy wasn't about the lyrics' defiance, but rather Roger Daltrey's unique vocal delivery. Daltrey's deliberate stuttering on lines like, "Why don't you all fade away?" raised concerns that it might offend listeners with speech impediments. Fearing backlash, the BBC banned the song from airplay, a decision that added to its notoriety. Rumors swirled, too, that Daltrey's stuttered "fade away" was a sly attempt to sneak in a swear word, adding fuel to the fire. Despite the ban, My Generation struck a chord with listeners. Its raw energy and message of youthful defiance pushed it to number 2 on the UK singles chart, proving that controversy could amplify a song's appeal. As the song's popularity grew, the BBC eventually reversed its decision, allowing it back on the airwaves. Over time, My Generation became one of The Who's most celebrated tracks. The song was praised for its unapologetic attitude and revolutionary sound. Even today, the song is a powerful reminder of the 1960s counterculture and The Who's role in giving voice to a generation. From its stuttering vocals to its rebellious message, My Generation stands as a timeless anthem of youthful defiance. Eve of Destruction. Barry Maguire's Eve of Destruction hit the airwaves in 1965, quickly becoming one of the most controversial songs of its time. Written by P.F. Sloan, the protest anthem addressed heavy issues like the Vietnam War, civil rights, and the threat of nuclear destruction. Certain lines challenged societal norms and struck a nerve with listeners, especially the youth. Despite its powerful message, the song faced widespread backlash. Many American radio stations banned it, labeling it as anti-American or even aid to the enemy during the Vietnam War. Some critics believed its apocalyptic tone was too harsh and divisive. Even the BBC banned the track, adding to its notoriety. But controversy often fuels curiosity. The ban only amplified the song's popularity. It climbed to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart, making it a defining anthem of the 1960s counterculture. Activists even used its lyrics to push for social change, such as lowering the voting age from 21 to 18. McGuire, a former member of the New Christy Minstrels, recorded Eve of Destruction during his first session as a solo artist. While the song brought him fame, it also brought challenges. He faced criticism, FBI scrutiny, and the label of being a subversive. Over the years, McGuire reflected on the song's relevance. He stated that its themes of social unrest and political mistrust are even more pressing today. Eve of Destruction remains a powerful reminder of music's ability to provoke thought and inspire change. Hey Joe! Jimi Hendrix's appearance on the BBC show, Happening for Lulu in 1969, is one of rock history's most infamous moments. Hendrix and his band The Experience were invited to perform two of their hits, Voodoo Child and Hey Joe. However, their performance didn't go as planned. After finishing Hey Joe, Hendrix abruptly stopped the music. He said, "We'd like to stop playing this rubbish and dedicate a song to the Cream, regardless of what kind of group they may be in." Hendrix then led the band into a powerful instrumental version of Cream's Sunshine of Your Love, much to the producer's dismay. The live show had already run past its scheduled time, and the producer, Stanley Dorfman, tried in vain to cut the performance short. Hendrix ignored the cues and continued playing even after the show's official end time. The camera cut to Lulu, who looked stunned and helpless as the music carried on. This rebellious moment didn't sit well with the BBC. After the performance, they banned Hendrix and his band from ever appearing on the network again. It was a shocking decision, but it also marked a historic moment in rock and roll. It showed the tension between the counterculture and the traditional establishment. Though Hendrix's ban from the BBC was swift, the performance remains a legendary piece of rock history, capturing the essence of Hendrix's fearless artistry. God Only Knows. God Only Knows by the Beach Boys is one of the most beautiful ballads ever made. Released on July 11, 1966, as part of their Pet Sounds album, this song quickly became a fan favorite. However, it was banned in some parts of the United States due to its use of the word God in the title and lyrics. At the time, using religious terms in pop music was considered controversial, and some radio stations even deemed it blasphemous. Despite the controversy, God Only Knows became a huge hit in the UK, where it reached number 2 on the charts. In the US, however, it only made it to number 39. This song stands out because, while it's a love song, its mention of God in a secular context struck a nerve with conservative listeners. In particular, in southern states, it really struck a lot of people's nerves and radio stations refused to play it. The song's beauty and emotional depth eventually won people over. Even Paul McCartney, a big fan, called it one of the few songs that makes him cry every time he hears it. He even performed it with Brian Wilson and got so emotional during the sound check that he couldn't continue. Despite early doubts from the writers Brian Wilson and Tony Asher, the song went on to become a timeless classic. Brian had even considered changing the title to Fred Only Knows to avoid controversy, but thankfully he kept the original title, and history proved him right. I Am the Walrus. Released in 1967, I Am the Walrus. It was a psychedelic masterpiece by John Lennon, inspired by Lewis Carroll's poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter. This song by the Beatles is one of the most bizarre and creative songs in pop history. The song is full of surreal, nonsensical lyrics like, I am the Eggman, they are the Eggmen, which left fans and even the band scratching their heads. Lennon's goal was to create a song that couldn't be easily understood or interpreted. And he certainly succeeded. Despite its strange and confusing nature, the song stirred controversy, especially with conservative groups. The BBC banned it from radio play, mainly due to the line, "Boy, you've been a naughty girl, you let your knickers down," which they interpreted as a sexual reference. This ban didn't stop the song from becoming popular. In fact, the ban might have made it even more famous. The song features an avant-garde production, including a 16-piece orchestra and a choir, adding to its dreamlike, otherworldly feel. While the lyrics seem to make little sense, they reflect a time of rebellion and change in the 1960s. Young people were rejecting the old ways and embracing new ideas, and "I Am the Walrus" became a symbol of that shift. Lennon later expressed his confusion over the ban, saying the lyrics didn't mean much, and it was all meant to be playful. Even so, the song went on to become one of the Beatles' most iconic tracks, cementing its place in music history. Let's Spend the Night Together. The Rolling Stones released this song in 1967. The track was bold and provocative for its time, with lyrics that some audiences found too suggestive. When the Stones performed it on The Ed Sullivan Show, they were asked to change the line, "Let's spend the night together," to "Let's spend some time together," to avoid offending viewers. Mick Jagger, ever the rebel, complied with the change, but made sure to dramatically roll his eyes during the performance, showing his frustration with the censorship. This moment became a defining moment in rock history. The BBC banned the song due to its suggestive nature, and many radio stations followed suit, deeming it too risqué to play. Despite these bans, the song became a major hit, reflecting the growing influence of rock music and its challenge to societal norms. Interestingly, the controversy surrounding the song overshadowed its B-side, Ruby Tuesday, which ended up topping the charts. Over the years, "Let's Spend the Night Together" became a symbol of the Stones' defiance and their ability to stir up attention. It was a time when rock and roll was pushing boundaries and challenging what was considered acceptable in mainstream culture. The Rolling Stones had already faced controversy on The Ed Sullivan Show before, and their boldness with "Let's Spend the Night Together" made sure they'd continue to make waves for years to come. Mississippi, Goddamn. In 1964, Nina Simone released Mississippi Goddamn, a powerful protest song that shook the nation. Written in less than an hour, the song was a response to the brutal racial injustices of the time. This included the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing and the assassination of Medgar Evers. With lyrics like, "Alabama's got me so upset, Tennessee made me lose my rest," Simone poured her grief and anger into a raw anthem. This anthem would go on to become a rallying cry for the civil rights movement. The song's blunt and defiant message was too much for many radio stations, especially in the South, where it was banned. Some stations even went as far as snapping promotional copies of the record in half before sending them back. Despite these efforts to silence her, Mississippi Goddamn became a symbol of resistance. The song's influence grew, and Simone performed it at historic events like the Selma Marches. This further solidified its place in American protest music. Simone's life had always been marked by activism. Even as a young girl, she refused to perform at a church revival when her parents were told to sit at the back. This early act of defiance set the tone for her career, where she used her music to challenge racism and inequality. Mississippi Goddamn remains one of her most iconic songs. It is a testament to her fierce commitment to social change and her place in history as a rebel with a cause. Light My Fire. In 1967, the Doors found themselves banned from The Ed Sullivan Show after a rebellious act during their performance of Light My Fire. The band, known for their dark, countercultural image, had been invited to perform on the popular TV show, following their rise to fame with the hit song. However, during rehearsal, producers asked lead singer Jim Morrison to change the line, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher," fearing it referenced drug use. Morrison agreed to make the change, but when the camera started rolling, he defiantly sang the original lyrics. This act of defiance led to the Doors being blacklisted from future appearances on the show. While Sullivan himself was courteous, the producers were furious, telling the band they would never perform on The Ed Sullivan Show again. Despite the ban, the incident only added to the band's rebellious reputation and solidified their place in rock history. The Doors' refusal to change the lyrics was part of a larger cultural battle during the 1960s. They represented the counterculture movement, a stark contrast to the more conservative, family-friendly image of The Ed Sullivan Show. For Morrison and the band, the risk of being banned seemed less important than staying true to their message and artistic vision. In the end, being banned by such an iconic show only added to their mystique, and they would go on to become one of the most influential rock bands in history. Society's Child. Society's Child, Baby I've Been Thinking, was a powerful and controversial song written and performed by Janis Ian when she was just 14 years old. The song, released in 1965, tackled the difficult and taboo subject of interracial relationships. It told the story of a young girl whose mother disapproved of her romance with a black boy, a theme that was considered highly controversial at the time. Despite its powerful message, many radio stations were uncomfortable with the song's topic and banned it. Some even withdrew it from their playlists, and Ian faced harsh personal backlash, including hate mail and death threats. However, the song's bold approach to social issues earned it critical acclaim and eventually made it a hit. In 1967, after being featured on the CBS TV special Inside Pop, The Rock Revolution, the song became a national hit, reaching number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. It sold 600,000 copies, and Ian's debut album also found success. The song's success was not without its challenges. At one point, Ian's manager and others tried to blacklist her after a backstage incident with comedian Bill Cosby. Despite these obstacles, Ian continued to rise in her career. In 2001, Society's Child was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. This cemented its place in music history as a powerful statement on race and relationships. The song remains a testament to music's ability to address difficult social issues head-on. Kick Out the Jams. MC5's debut album, Kick Out the Jams, is a legendary moment in rock history, but it was also one of the most controversial albums of its time. The album, recorded live over 2 nights in 1968 at the Grande Ballroom in Detroit, featured the explosive song Kick Out the Jams. The song, of course, began with the famous expletive-filled first line. This opening line set the tone for the entire album, full of raw energy and rebellious spirit. The album faced immediate backlash, and many record stores refused to sell it. Even Hudson's, a department store in Detroit, wouldn't carry the album. This led to the band taking out full-page ads in local newspapers that used yet more curse words about the store. This move, while bold, led to the band being dropped by their label, Elektra. The label had initially released censored versions of the album, but ultimately dropped the band due to the controversy. Despite the backlash, Kick Out the Jams was considered by many to be a groundbreaking record, pushing the boundaries of rock music. With its heavy, distorted sound and rebellious energy, the album influenced the punk rock movement and became a classic in rock history. Songs like Ramblin' Rose, Come Together, and the jaw-dropping closer Starship showed the band's ability to mix fierce guitar riffs with electrifying performances. Even though MC5 faced plenty of challenges, its bold, untamed sound left a lasting impact on the world of rock music. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, released by the Beatles in 1967, is one of the band's most famous songs. It's part of their iconic Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album, and quickly gained attention for its surreal and dreamlike lyrics. Lines like, "Picture yourself in a boat on a river, with tangerine trees and marmalade skies," created a vivid, almost magical world for listeners. However, the song faced controversy when people noticed the initials of the title, LSD. Immediately, they assumed it was a reference to the hallucinogenic drug. This idea was further supported by the song's psychedelic sound and abstract lyrics. John Lennon repeatedly denied that the song had anything to do with drugs. He explained that it was inspired by a drawing his son Julian made. Even still, the BBC banned it from the airwaves. The BBC cited concerns over the song promoting drug use. This ban only made the song more interesting to the public, leading to more debate. Paul McCartney later admitted that drugs did influence some of the band's music at that time. He even mentioned that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds had hints of drug experiences, even if they weren't the main focus. In the years following its release, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds became a symbol of the counterculture movement and remains one of the Beatles' most memorable tracks. I Can't Get No Satisfaction. I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones is one of their most iconic songs. Released in 1965, it quickly became a chart topper, reaching #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. It also hit #1 in the UK, but the song faced significant pushback due to its controversial lyrics. The song's lyrics were criticized for sexual innuendo and a critique of commercialism. In fact, during a 1965 performance of the song on the ABC music variety show Shindig, the line "trying to make some girl" was censored. The Rolling Stones also faced backlash from radio stations, especially in the US and the UK, where it was considered too sexually aggressive. In some cities, the line was buried in the mix to try and get the song past censors. Despite the controversy, I Can't Get No Satisfaction became a defining hit for the band and is now considered one of the greatest rock songs of all time. Fast forward 40 years to the 2006 Super Bowl XL halftime show, and the Rolling Stones performed the same song, this time without any censorship. The world had changed, and the song was no longer seen as scandalous, but as an anthem of rebellion and freedom of expression. What once faced criticism for its bold lyrics is now celebrated as a timeless classic, solidifying its place in music history. Bonus: Puff the Magic Dragon. Puff the Magic Dragon, a beloved folk song by Peter, Paul, and Mary, was released in 1963 and quickly became a hit. The song tells the story of a magical dragon named Puff and his close friendship with a little boy named Jackie Paper. It was a sweet and whimsical tale that children adored. However, in 1970, the song became the first ever banned in Singapore. Why? Well, some people thought the lyrics might be about smoking marijuana, especially because of words like puff and dragon. Despite the band's strong denials that there were any hidden drug references, the song was still banned. Even U.S. Vice President Spiro Agnew, who was on a mission to control rock music, joined the debate. He believed that rock songs like Puff the Magic Dragon were promoting drug culture. Peter Yarrow, one of the song's creators, explained that Puff was just a simple children's story with no hidden meanings. He said it was purely about childhood innocence and imagination. But despite his protests, the song was banned in several places, including Singapore for its supposed ties to drugs. To this day, it's unclear whether Puff the Magic Dragon remains banned in Singapore, but the song is still loved by many for its sweet melody and nostalgic charm. The controversy only added to the song's lasting legacy, making it a timeless classic that's still enjoyed by generations today. It's amazing to think how some of these songs went from being banned to becoming timeless classics. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more great music stories. Thanks for watching. Thanks.